First, I want to start this video by giving my condolences to the family and friends of Kentaro Miura, the creator and heart and soul behind this behemoth of a series. Thank you for everything you've done.
Motivate to motivate, spit till I suffocate, very quick to agitate, concentrate till I rate, I'm irate, in a state, my confidence is a trait, success is my motherfucking fate.
My experience with Berserk is somewhat limited compared to maybe others. I watched the 1997 anime about 7 years ago, and I actually did a video on this channel describing why you should watch it. Little did I know that there was a hell of a lot more to the series than I initially believed. Despite this, I was gripped by how dark and unforgiving the world was, even though the anime covered one of the lighter arcs of the story, being the Golden Age arc, obviously apart from the eclipse at the end. I really enjoyed the medieval setting for the story, as it reminded me of some of my favourite video games of the time, like Elder Scrolls V Skyrim and Dragon's Dogma. I was pretty shocked at the themes that the anime would cover, and it really redefined what anime was to me at the time. It covered topics like child rape, self-harm, and had a main character with no overly idealistic goal of becoming the Hokage, the Pirate King, or even wanting to become stronger. No, Guts' only motivator was to survive and to prolong his own life, but to also find his life purpose along the way, where he had none. But I'll touch on this more a little bit soon. I didn't watch the recent series of Berserk, as I wasn't really a big fan of the CGI and how they just handled it, and ultimately the reception of it was pretty poor, which already lowered my already kind of low motivation to watch it. Up until recently, I hadn't really experienced the manga, but mainly because I didn't have a preferred way of reading it. I didn't buy the manga because I'm trying to cut down on physical possessions, and reading it on the laptop screen just doesn't do it for me. I just really don't like doing it that way. Fortunately though, reading it on a Kindle was the perfect alternative for me. After reading some of the manga, I think I understand why people love this series so much, and why people claim that it actually helped them when they were going through hard times in their lives. In this video, I'd like to basically provide an avenue to sort of explain why I agree with this notion, and why I think that Berserk is the perfect anime to read when you're going through your own trials and tribulations in your own life, and just generally in a bad place. Let's begin with what I mean by a bad place, because obviously I don't mean it in the literal geographical sense of the word, because I'm not sure how reading a manga can do that for you. Get some professional help if necessary. By a bad place in your life, I mean one of those positions in your life where you feel like nothing's going the way you want it to, and the world just kind of feels like it's against you. Negative things keep happening, and you feel as though you don't have the strength, the resilience, or the willpower to face them and to deal with them effectively. In my own life, I've been going through something like this. I've been hurt by someone, and subsequently life felt like it was throwing hurdle after hurdle at me non-stop. And some days I just struggled to be happy and to smile, you know, even though I had a lot to smile for and just generally to be grateful about. It's not like I wasn't trying either, because I always did what I had to do to get up and just handle things and just try to get things done. I did what I had to try and make myself happy, but just sometimes it just felt like it was futile. And overall, it was just a really lonely experience. I'm not going to be that guy and say I have depression, because I have a few dips here and there, but it's what I would consider to be a bad place, and I'm sure a lot of you could probably relate to this, I'm sure. The reason I share this with you is because I believe that the manga of Berserk is an allegory for depression, or rather how you should respond to life when you're in a bad place. I've read many self-help books across the years, and really and truly it's only the fictional stories that motivate me and really show me how to deal with adversity, like the way Guts does in Berserk. In essence, Berserk is about Guts and his struggles to survive the major onslaught of monsters and demons that are pursuing him thanks to the brand he received from Griffith, a man who basically destroyed Guts' life. He killed all his companions, raped his girlfriend in front of him, and Guts lost an eye and an arm in the process, all from someone he considered to be his friend. This is merely the tip of the iceberg. As I said, Guts just can't catch a break. Can't even sleep without an incubus giving him nightmares and feeding on his fear. Guts is one tough as hell guy, but that's all he is, one guy. Thanks to the cruelty of this world, he is mostly alone and finds meaning through his struggle for revenge. As a consequence of all of his hardship that he's gone through, he can be cold and sadistic and morally grey. But this is what makes him so compelling. He's a real person. He still has moments where he needs to hold back his tears, because buried deep down under all the trauma, anger, and scars, he's a caring person. When Guts was about 9, he would swing his sword to calm his mind and feel at peace, and something which he actually carried on later in his life. Guts is so real, in fact, that he has coping mechanisms for when he feels hurt. Like in the Golden Age arc, both times when Casca berates him and calls him selfish, he goes off alone to swing his sword just as he would as a child. It's the only way for him to find a temporary sense of peace, and it tells you a lot about Guts as a character. It's details like this which make Guts a much more relatable person, despite how big and strong he actually is. For me, going on walks and just doing breathing exercises, it gives me a similar sort of peacefulness. During the wider story of Berserk, Guts faces challenges, with successes being a very unlikely outcome. His foes tend to be bigger than him, stronger, and a lot more durable. 90% of his victories come from his will to live, and 10% is just dumb luck. Guts never gives up despite these odds, and living in a world where mostly everything is against him. This might sound familiar to what I said earlier in the video in a metaphorical sense. It's possible that sometimes we feel similar to Guts, but like him, we can choose to fight and struggle anyway, even if things are unfair, because life is unfair. I'd like to compare the demons that chase Guts to the negative thoughts that we can have in our own heads. These thoughts that come into our mind and sort of corrupt us and just kind of put us in this bad place. These manifestations of the mind can just make life unbearable, but ultimately we can win against them, and we will win because we want to keep on living. It's not all doom and gloom though. The rare but wholesome, light-hearted moments make you appreciate them that much more due to the juxtaposition between them and the more common, darker elements of Berserk. I think this only adds to our metaphor, seeing as we can really appreciate the good things more when we feel as though everything is the opposite. This leads me to the silver lining, and why this manga is perfect to read when you're not in the best place. Berserk is a story about hope. Every battle, every triumph, and just every challenge that Guts overcomes brings him closer to that final state of just finding that inner peace within himself. With an ending that we will tragically never see, but an outcome we can imagine and interpret for our own, to find our own meaning to it. I recommend one night starting to read the manga in your preferred method. Slap on some headphones and listen to the OST from the 1997 anime and zone into this world. It might give you some perspective, and it will make you feel like you're not alone in your struggles in this abyss that we call life. I've been SirLantz, and have a great day.
Season and I'm out for the kill. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, now I'm feeling the thrill. Call me Itachi, you won't see me. Tsukuyomi. Undeniable.